Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anyway Whatever podcast. I'm your host, Mike Fisher, and today I'm also the guest of the show. We're at episode 80. This is episode number 80 that you're looking at right now. I wanted to give you an update on the future of the podcast. Unfortunately, but also fortunately, I'm going to have to go on hiatus from the show. I got 80 straight episodes in over about 6 months worth of time. I never missed a week, and I don't want to start doing the show that way where, you don't know when you're going to get a new episode or whatever. My work situation has changed a little bit. If you listen to this show, you know I'm a freelance graphic designer, illustrator, and custom painter. And I find myself with more work than I've ever had in my freelance career since I went freelance 11 years ago. It's awesome and exciting. And, but it is also, I have to prioritize the work that pays versus something like this that doesn't pay and, it's really just a hobby, and I really love doing it. I'll get into it a little bit more, about that as I go on here, but, yeah, I to be fair to myself and to be fair to you guys who are my regular listeners, I don't want to half-ass it. If you know me, you know that I don't half-ass anything. I'm full in if I'm doing it. And so, for the time being, I won't be doing any more episodes. I take that back. I have 2 more episodes, to do. It's a 2-parter with my friend Dan Snow, talking about some Stephen King stuff. He's a very popular guest. And when we talk about Stephen King stuff, the show gets an incredible bump in views and listens. So I wanted to do that with Dan because I just like hanging out, talking with Dan, especially about Stephen King stuff. So Dan will get 2 more episodes. If we can get him recorded, next week, maybe I can get him in. Otherwise, next week's episode 81, will be a repeat of an older episode. But I wanted to get this one in for episode 80 to let you guys know what's going on. I started doing a couple years ago, and it's been mentioned on the show a bunch of times. If you're a regular listener, you've heard me talk about the fact that I started doing like prop design and graphic design for the film industry, for commercials and TV and movies, etc. Had some stuff in the movie Palm Springs. I've done a bunch of different commercials where, I'm providing graphic design services for the production, whether that's, like a fake sign, at a gas station, or whether it is designing, taking the location room where it's going to be shot and laying out the room with all the furniture and decorations that go into it in Photoshop. It's like concept work. I just finished one of the reasons that really put me in peril with having episodes recorded for you guys. Cause if you are a listener, you also know that I like to have 6, 7, 8 episodes recorded at all times so that I'm never rushing around trying to, have an episode ready. I don't like to work that way. All my years in the video game industry made me hyper prepared in situations like that. But what I was saying is I just finished a commercial for Frito-Lay's that stars Jimmy Fallon. And it was like it was about a little over 2 weeks worth of 16 straight days, like 11 hours, 12 hours a day, every single day, for a couple weeks. And I just didn't have any bandwidth to record anything. And all the episodes that I had in the bank got used up because I was a little behind on that too. But yeah, the Jimmy Fallon commercial for Frito-Lay's, it's the big holiday campaign for them. So if you see that commercial over this holiday season, take note of the train that goes around the house that he's in, delivering snacks to people, because I designed that train. I designed the paint job for the train. It's like a New York City subway cars, and they're painted semi graffiti-ish. It's more street arty, but anyway. So I designed that's the kind of work that I've been doing. Like they hire me, I come in, they're like, we have this train, we need it painted with all the different Fritos brands, Cheetos, the Doritos, etc. And then I sit in Photoshop and I design out what all the cars are going to look like, and then it goes to the prop house and the prop guys make it. We worked with a company called Fonco here in Los Angeles, and they did an amazing job on all of the props that we designed. There's also another scene where there's like a big lighted Dorito chip that acts as the star on the Christmas tree. I designed and concepted that, and a bunch of other stuff, the wrapping paper, there's just tons of my work in there. It was super fun. It was a lot of hard work, but there's going to be more of that for me. I'm kind of moving in that direction with my career, at least for the short term. And then on top of that, I have my normal contracts with toy companies that I work with. If you look behind me, you can actually see that the art studio is absolutely exploded right now because it's full of boxes of toys that are taking up all kinds of space in here. I've been painting some goalie masks again. You can see one of those back there. So I'm literally too busy to do this show. And again, I don't want to put out something that's not as good as it could be, or something that's put out sporadically, but we may get to that point if things free up over the winter. I don't think they will, but, just that's the update on what's happening. I wanted to take a couple minutes and, just say thank you to, first of all, to all the guests. If you listen to the show, you know that one of the most important things to me is time. It's the only thing in this world that we can never get more of once it's been spent. And so anytime people, share their time with me, I am amazed and I am humbled because, time is important and people are busy and you got a lot of stuff going on. And so any of the guests who've been on, just amazing guests that gave me their time and shared their stories with you and with me. Cause that was one of the great things I got out of this show, was learning the story of a lot of my favorite artists and musicians and creative people, just hearing, people like, Isabel Samaras talk about, how she wound up being a oil painter, like that journey was amazing to me. And Johnny Sampson and his Mad Magazine, how he got his Mad Magazine job, and, Monolord, and going back, like Lower Class Brats are one of my favorite bands. And to be able to talk to both, Bones and Ron Conflict was amazing and awesome. Brad Logan from Adolescence and Leftover Crack. Just Scott, who did the Nickelodeon documentary, and on and on and on. Just all these amazingly cool and talented people, Kozik and Keir Gilchrist, who were by far the two most popular episodes. Keir's episode, between the audio and video version, that got like 6,000 downloads, which is absolutely crazy. That is by far the most. Andrew Barksdale is like number 2, and I think Kozik's number 3. Andrew Barksdale's episode still gets a ton of YouTube views every single day. It's absolutely insane, but that's awesome. Barksdale's a good dude, and I appreciate him coming on as well. Just getting to meet new people as well. I made a lot of new friends out of this show. I'm one of those kind of people who, like, once I get to know you, like I do on this show, like I'm just going to consider you a friend of mine forever. Somebody like Laura Dan, Wendy Gadzik, and people like that who I met through the show. Just amazing people, and I consider them to be peers and friends. And it's been amazing to just be involved in the creative, industries in that way. I hope I brought something to it. I've been very lucky where I haven't gotten a lot of negative feedback. A couple people, were like, hey, less about you and more about the guest. I've had a couple comments like that, and that's fair. I do babble way too much sometimes on the show, but that's just kind of how I am. Like, my insecurity makes me want to be relatable in a conversation, and sometimes I over talk, but that's the way it is. But also it's also one of the things about this show that was very successful from the rest of the comments that I got is that the show was conversational. It's not an interview show. It's a conversational show where I am having conversations with people about all sorts of stuff. Not necessarily, I talked to Buddy Nestor and he refused to talk about art, which was awesome because he's an amazing painter, very accomplished gallery artist. And he didn't want to talk about that. He wanted to talk about other stuff. And, that's what I also really loved about this show is that it was freeform like that. I felt like kind of like maybe there was some guests who I did not know in real life or who I wasn't super familiar with their work because they'd come to me from an agency. I started getting agencies bringing me bands and authors and all kinds of people really early on in the show, which is crazy. I still get emails every day from promoters, or from managers who are like trying to get their bands and stuff on the show. And it's flattering. I'm like, I don't know if they know how small the show is, but anyway, just, being able to, sometimes if I didn't know somebody really well, like the guys from, Hunter from Decent Criminal or, Vinny from who used to be in Less Than Jake, I didn't really know them very well. So it could be a little bit weird to drive the conversation with somebody I didn't know in a conversational way, but I felt like I got better at it as I went along. I don't think I ever had a single guest I considered to be a dud or a bad guest. Everybody was super awesome. And especially in the beginning when I was smart enough to just have on people that I did know. So I could get familiar and comfortable talking in this format with people that I already knew. So I didn't have to overcome the obstacle of getting comfortable with a new person. I talked to Joe Siv and I talked to Bobby Dixon and I talked to Gerald Tidwell and people like that who, in the beginning, it was easy for me to be able to really get going because I was comfortable talking to them. My brother-in-law, Billy, who did a couple episodes with me, and I appreciate Billy's time always, but, so yeah, it was, thank you to all the guests who were on the show. It's a lot of guests. I got a lot of people in, this is episode 80. So that's a lot of folks. I also want to say thank you to all of the people who helped like sponsor the show. Bad Moon, Flynn Prejean. He was an advertiser on the show. Andy Diesel at Diesel Fuel Prints. That promo code's, I believe, still going to stay live. And I'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end about what else is coming from me. And, the patrons, I have a handful of patrons on Patreon who kick down a little money. So, buying all the gear for this and getting it all set up, I have, I don't half-ass it. I got all really good, nice stuff. As you can see the camera, I have a really good camera. I have good lighting. It's all, professional grade equipment. And, that was pretty costly. So the show may have, I don't know, it may have recouped the startup cost through Patreon and, advertising, but I would be surprised if it did. The camera alone was 6 months of advertising. But I would like to say thank you to the people who stepped up on that level to help me keep the show going. It's been also humbling and really amazing. So many people are interested in this show, and there's other podcasts like Can I Make a Hit podcast and the Tennis podcast who were super supportive of this show. Shout out to Nick and shout out to the Can I Make a Hit podcast. Just incredibly supportive of the show right from the beginning and help promote it on their social media and on their shows. And Nick was from Tennis Podcast was on my podcast. I don't remember what episode it was, but I don't keep numbers in my head very well, as you probably have mentioned before. But thank you to the other shows that have been that have been supportive of this show. Just amazing community of podcasters and other content creators. And really also a huge, massive thank you to the people who listen and watch on YouTube. After about 6 months, I got into a groove of knowing exactly how many people I could expect as a base to watch or listen to the show in a week or in a month. It was interesting to watch that happen, where if a guest was completely new to my audience, somebody that they might not have ever known, and these people didn't really promote the episode very much, I knew that there was a certain amount of views and listens I could count on just because of the people who are regular listeners and viewers of the show, which is amazing. That means I had a core audience that I could always count on. And that was also amazing and humbling. And I suppose I expected when I started this that would be the case, although I don't know that what I expected for the show was what the reality of it was once I got going. You know, of course, every time I do anything, I'm like, this is going to be a total success and everybody in the world wants this. And then, you know, after a little while, my expectations get realistic. And so, you know, I'm like, I'm going to get 10,000, downloads a month. And, that didn't ever happen. But I had a core audience that I could count on. And that really in the end ended up being special to me, is that I could count on you people to just, tune in and listen to whoever it was that was going to be on, whether it was like somebody from a death metal band or somebody from a ska punk band or, some obscure genre of artist or a massive artist, or it's any guest that I had on. I knew you people were going to be there for me. And I totally appreciate that. Like as much as I appreciate the time that people gave me to be on the show, I appreciate the time that all my listeners gave me in listening to the show or watching it on YouTube. The show's still growing. It's not like I'm slowing down because it wasn't successful or it isn't continuing to be successful. Every single month there's growth for this show. It's slow and it's incremental, but it's constant. It's been a constant growth since day one, which is, again, like it's all been very, very humbling that anybody cares at all what I have going on and what I want to talk about. So kind of to wrap up a little bit, I don't want to go too long on this, but just thank you to everybody. I really do appreciate it. I've talked before about how I want to do an art YouTube channel that is just me and my projects, my art projects, things I want to do, things I'm working on as a professional artist, all that kind of stuff. I fell in love with YouTube shows over the pandemic lockdown. When I was learning how to do this show, I started watching other stuff on YouTube. I was never a YouTube person before the pandemic, before I started this show. So I would, I got hooked on, channels like 1000. He's an artist. He was in Seattle, but now he's in Michigan. It's just like Bob Ross, but, more about his life and his art. And it's an engaging show. Kipto, who's like a graffiti muralist. He's a muralist, but he uses spray paint. So I guess I'd call him a little bit of a graph artist, but his show is amazing. Kat Liepin's art, Serpa Design, which is a guy who makes these custom aquarium vivariums that are their own ecosystem. Absolutely amazing. Boulder Creek Railroad with Luke Towan. He just makes stuff for model trains. It's absolutely insane. I'm super into that. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube and a lot of it is people trying to make money, teaching you how to make money on YouTube, which is as absurd as it sounds. A lot of it, there was a lot of useful information in there, but that's not, when I say I want to be a YouTuber, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not trying to be Logan Paul or whatever those dudes' names are. I want to show people how I do my job, because I think that one of the overriding conversations on my podcast was that graphic design, art, illustration, those things have been devalued dramatically in the last decade or so. And I'd like to show people what it's like to do that day to day. And there'll be projects that are just fun projects for me. I want to paint. I want to make a painting. So you're going to watch me make a painting. But so I started building up content over the last year or so of a bunch of projects that I've worked on, album covers and goalie masks and skateboard designs and stuff like that. I just need to edit a lot of it together. I have a lot of it already to go, but so there will be a YouTube channel. Mike Fisher Custom Artwork is going to be the channel. You can go and subscribe there right now if you want to. There's some teaser stuff up there, but as soon as I get a tiny bit of breathing room, I'm going to start, really pushing on putting that stuff together, final episodes and stuff. And there, I will have guests on that show that come from this show. There's some stuff I want to have people on to do some episodes with. So, you can look forward to some of that as well. There'll still be a little bit of that, kind of me talking to other professional stuff going on over there as well at Mike Fisher Custom Artwork. Again, though, I'm so busy right now with work. It's insane. It is absolutely insane. We're about to start doing some work on our house. So our house is torn apart and we're about to have construction workers here every day. And I just can't keep doing all of the things that I am doing. And like I said up front, this is kind of end up being a hobby for me. It's not really a profitable situation. So, if I need to find room for something to leave my space that, is another stressor that's like, you got to get this done. And it's going to have to be the thing that makes me the least amount of money. So frankly, the podcast is got to be the one. But again, it doesn't mean that it doesn't come back at some point. If I find myself, in a situation where I have more of a stable schedule, my schedule is not stable right now. I have 50 things to do and I can only do 5 of them a day, type of thing. But if you know me, I'm like a maniac workhorse. So I'll get it all done. I appreciate you thinking about me. But that's pretty much it. Just again, big thanks to everybody who's been a part or been a listener. Super stoked. There's 2 more episodes coming out. It's a 2-parter with Dan Snow. If I had talked to you previous about being on the show, I apologize that you will not get your day in the sun on my podcast. But I appreciate everybody's, agreeing to be on, and I'll be in contact with everybody about all that stuff. But I suspect most of the people who were in that position are not either listening or they tuned out already. If anybody got all the way through to minute 26 here, then, thank you for sticking with me. But yeah, I think that's about it. I'm going to wrap it up because it's Tuesday and I have to have this thing edited and ready to be live tomorrow morning. So another thing on my list of things that have to get accomplished today. And so I am going to go and I'm going to take and edit this right away and get it ready for tomorrow's broadcast, episode number 80. And, yeah, anyway, whatever.